Good evening. You're listening to the new WCEG network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. I'm Celeste Giordano, your host, and Sarah Poe, my co-host. This is Global Legacy and Wealth Building, building a legacy nonprofit in the new economy. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. And last but not least, the disclaimer that the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you, Penny Rogers, for giving us this wonderful platform for us to host this nonprofit tonight. We're very grateful. Sarah and I have an amazing lineup of women today that are going to just share some great things with us where it comes to about speaking, public speaking. We also have a nonprofit on here about Rainbow Village, and we also have another guest on here with us that's going to talk to us about automation systems and processes. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I am wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is. And for the audience, Sarah, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Sarah Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. We're an accounting firm in Decula, Georgia, which is in north of Atlanta. We do taxes, payroll, sales tax, you name it, we do it. We take your mess and present it to the IRS. So we'd love to work with you.
Absolutely. And Sarah and I have been working together in the nonprofit industry as well as the profit industry for the last 7 years. And I'm very honored and privileged to have you as my co-host today. I am Celeste Giordano, your master sales strategist and business mentor at celestegiordano.com. I help business entrepreneurs, direct sales teams, and corporations exponentially increase sales and profit through lead generation, building relationships, and accountability. So tonight, we have some special guests with us tonight. They are very world-class people. And our first guest is none other than Kricket Harrison with Smart Success. And Kricket Harrison is a performance and productivity expert working with businesses to grow their bottom line faster through speaking and presentations. As a professional speaker, Kricket is known for her dynamic and interactive presentations on the human side of business. Kricket has a degree in psychology and organizational communication from the University of Texas. I personally know Kricket from many years ago. I think the first time that I met Kricket was through, believe it or not, was at a Suzanne Evans event, Kricket. That's the first time that I think that I met you.
Is that where it was?
That's where it was. But also Kricket and I are colleagues through eWomen International, which we love our eWomen chapter and networking group. And I've had Kricket speak with us on, I think, with my personal clients, as well as with another nonprofit that we were associated with. So we are just so glad to have you here tonight, Kricket. And what I would like for you to do is to tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and how people can get a hold of you before we get started.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to. It's so funny, Celeste, that you mentioned that we started with Suzanne. I didn't realize that because part of my past is I was lead coach and trainer for Suzanne and Larry in their speaking group. So I've been blessed to have the honor to learn from them and train over 300 entrepreneurs. So as you stated, I am a professional speaker. When I speak on stage, it's about communication to increase performance and productivity, teams, individuals, the gamut, right? If you can't communicate, you're not going to increase your sales. If you can't understand your customers, you're not going to have loyal customers. But on the entrepreneur side of things, that little stint I did for Suzanne and Larry really turned me on to helping entrepreneurs really learn how to maximize speaking opportunities to grow their business. And that's everything from that 30-second or 60-second introduction all the way up to how do I get on stages, or my favorite, how do I get paid to speak? So my business is Smart Success. I rebranded a couple of years ago, and the Smart Success came from one of the programs that I created through work. I've been in business about 18 years now. And so I was like, that's my main program. Let's just go with that. So I can be found at smartsuccessinc.com. or on Facebook at Kricket Harrison. And I have a free Facebook group that is the Smart Success Group. So Facebook's groups, Smart Success Group. That's the easiest way, you know. LinkedIn as well, but let's face it, Facebook is such an easy access point these days, so people can reach me there.
Absolutely. And do you have any kind of programs or anything, any kind of workshops or anything between now and end of the year, Kricket?
Oh, we have a couple of things we're working on, but I'll be honest with you. Let's do the little teaser. I give my free Facebook group people access first and the best rate. So that's the place to go. It is free. I do not bombard people with emails and offers. We are working on a program called Baby Get Booked, the top 5 reasons you're not getting booked and what you can do about it right now.
I love it.
We also have a couple of other little things in the works that, you know, it's all the background work. If I could just get out and speak, we'd be set. But getting all those little, getting all those ducks in a row, right? And we'll be launching those first and at the best rates to the Facebook group.
Absolutely. So I encourage our listeners to go to that Facebook group, and I believe Penny has access to put that out there for us. And we look forward to having some of you join the Smart Success Facebook group with Kricket Harrison. So Kricket, is speaking important for everyone? And what if listeners don't want to speak on stage?
Oh, okay. So you've already hit one of my hot points. I love it. So
I want to get it out right up front.
So here's the way we need to kind of tweak our mindset and how we look at things. Everyone is a speaker. Everyone, I firmly believe, has a voice, has a mission and a purpose for why you're in your business. You have a message, you have something you want to share or help people with. Everyone has a platform, and that's something I call your stake in the ground. It's part of who you are and what you believe. You just may not use the same type of stage. So you speak when you're at networking events. If we were in the real world, you'd speak at a cocktail party. You might speak in line at the grocery store. You might speak at the PTA meeting or in line to pick your kids up from school. And somebody always asks you, hey, Celeste, well, what do you do? Tell me more about that. And at that point, it's your job to be able to communicate what you do in a clear, succinct manner that makes you referable. So everyone's a speaker. It's not about being on stage, and it's not about am I paid or am I professional or am I a public speaker. It's about understanding that at that point in that time and opportunity, it is your job to communicate clearly what you do, like a speaker would, if we want to go to kind of the professional style. But think of yourself that way. I need a clear message. Everyone needs a clear message. And at that point, when you're talking about your business, you are speaking about your business. So it's just kind of a mindset tweak right there.
No, absolutely. And everybody is a speaker at some point. Like you say, whether it's taking your kids at a PTA meeting, whether you're at a networking event, or whether you're a professional person that, you know, working with corporations or business entrepreneurs, you are a speaker. And so it says the speaking important for everyone. Everyone is speaking. And I think a lot of people I see in the entrepreneur world, I'll categorize entrepreneur world, you know, that they feel that the fastest path to cash is speaking. And then all of a sudden, everybody thinks they're a speaker, and they're really not a speaker without some education and training. Is that true?
Oh, you're getting me in trouble up front. That's where Baby Get Booked came from. So, you know, it is a buzzword right now. And I'll be honest, it is really the fastest way to grow your business, because when somebody gets up to speak, you're already granting them their status. It is their stage wherever they are. It is their moment to kind of show their stuff. And one of the things that it's kind of unnerving, but I tell my clients, it's your credibility to lose at that point. You have been given credibility by given the opportunity to do that networking talk, to speak to that group, whether it's 5 minutes about your company and your event, or whether it's a 20-minute networking talk. So at that point, you've got it all, you've got to own it, and you've got to deliver it. What I find through experience is everyone comes to me and says, can you get me on more stages? I want to get booked. I need to get booked more. And I had this conversation online with somebody just the other day. They're like, I can't get booked on stages. There are thousands of stages out there right now. Literally every group is pretty much virtual, and every group has had to rearrange and scramble for presenters. So if people aren't getting booked, there's a couple of reasons. And it's everything from, do I know where to look? Do I have the right title? There's all sorts of things. But the where you're driving home is they're not doing the practice. They think they have a great talk. And I always tell people, if you are converting in the moment, not later, not from opt-ins and email sequences that are 21 days and all that. If you're converting in the moment or getting referred to speak or referred to clients in the moment, then you're doing pretty well, right? And like any of us, like any athlete out there, we can always use help and assistance. I don't know any top big name paid professional speaker that does not have a mastermind group or support of somebody that says, hey, how does this sound? Is this good? If I do it this way, is this the best way? What if I change the tone of my voice? And what I find in the entrepreneur world is they don't do the work. And one of my I have several kind of stakes in the ground beliefs around speaking. And I think it's disrespectful to your audience not to put in the time and practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard on the last time that you spoke at eWomen, that was our chapter, and you spoke about the time that you put in for X amount of time for a presentation that you're speaking on stage. And a lot of people we've been living in a Zoom world now for 6, 7, 8 months, and people are doing webinars or speaking through Zoom calls for networking, and they're really just winging it. I mean, we've all been there and done that, and we're like, not going back to that one, this month. And we do have to put the time in, and we do have to invest in the proper people in the speaking industry if we're serious about calling ourselves a speaker.
Well, and we have to put our ego aside. Now, it's a really tricky space because at some point you got to have a little bit of ego to get up in front of people and be like, hey, look at me, I've got the message, right? You got to be able to own who you are and own your expertise, but you have to put it aside in terms of being perfect and thinking that you're beyond needing help. Everybody's got something, it doesn't mean any, people tend to take it the wrong way. People will ask me my opinion. I love this part. People will ask me, okay, well, can you watch me speak? And I'll be like, okay, sure. They never come back for the information. They don't really want it. They want my approval. They don't want the feedback. And, and it's, like I said, you have to learn how to remove your ego. It's a skill set. And you have to remember it's a skill set. It's not about some people are a little more naturally gifted than others, but this is a skill set and anyone can learn it. And for all my introverts watching or listening, this is so you. So don't think you're done, right? Most, just like comedians and actors, a lot of your well-known speakers are introverts. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm an introvert. I can't do that. I could never do that. You would be amazed because it's a skill set. You're not expected just to go up there and be wonderful and beautiful and perfect all at once. And quite frankly, your audience doesn't like that. They want you to be human and real and relatable. And it's, if you do the skills, if you do the work, if you understand there's a strategy, especially for my entrepreneurs who are trying to use speaking at these networking events to grow your business and get clients, if you know that there's a strategy behind this, it's not just getting up and giving a talk and going, woohoo, look at me. There's a strategy and a process that goes in based on where you are, what you want the end result to be, what's the offer you're making, what's your follow-up like, what are your deadlines and dates like. There's a whole process behind that. And it's like anything else, when you nail the process and you do the work, you're going to have better results.
No, absolutely, Kricket. I couldn't agree with you more. When people that want to talk, I have this favorite saying is when it comes from the heart, it goes to the heart. And a lot of times people want to hear you to be authentic. They want you to share your story, but you do have to organize it. And we just can't get up there off the seat of our pants. And we may be 40 something years, like I'm 42 years in direct sales, but I invested money to do a signature talk. I have a long talk and I have a short talk, but I invested money to tweak that, to strategize it where it's my message. And I paid somebody to take it out of my brain and put it together for me. And then I practice and I still practice it. And so, I think it's important that if you're serious about wanting to speak, you do have to invest in yourself, and you do have to have a strategy, like you say, to get that message out there. But you have to be authentic, and you do have to speak from your heart to do that.
Yeah. And let me just add there. So it's really interesting, this whole concept of your story and your heart. If you are speaking about a traumatic experience, you need to be 100% over that. Absolutely. The stage in whatever platform you want to call it is not the place to process your emotions in front of people. And you have to be very mindful. If you take them to a place that dips them down, you better be able to bring them back up before you close, or you're not going to get anything you want. The other piece about the story is your story has to be about us. Yes. You know, I get a lot of people who say, well, I went through this and I did this. And I'm like, how is that about me? What's the problem you're solving? How is that about either the audience in the room, or if I'm sitting in here, how does this give me information that I can take to my clients that helps them? And people forget that. And they're like, well, I just want to tell my story and I just want to be a motivational speaker. And so I love that. I really do. But we got to put some content in there. We got to put some purpose behind it besides just you telling your story. And I want to also challenge everybody. Would you ever go sit through a speaker who wasn't motivational? Right?
Yeah.
No. So that's your lowest bar. That's your lowest bar. Like, yes, you have to be engaging. And again, that is practice, right? You have to, one of the things we do with clients is we watch films just like they do in sports, right? We get back and say, where were you engaging? Where did the audience react more? Where can we take that deeper to get more effect, right? Based on what you're wanting to do.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, when you were talking about, you know, you have to be past that experience if it was a traumatic experience, and if you bring people down to a low. And I've been doing business consulting for 7 years after I retired from my direct selling position. And I spoke earlier this year to a group of women that were cancer survivors. And I talked about a story. I talked about the 3 C's, and one of the C's was confidence. You know, I didn't think, Kricket, about that. And when I was talking to them and we talked about confidence, I could just see the whole room, like you say, sink like that. But then you had to bring them back up. And I was able to do that, but I was really scrambling because I'd never had experienced that before. And it's like, I'll always remember that right there, because it was very important that I brought them back out of that, where they, you know, encourage them that, you know, that they do have confidence and how they can have that confidence after being a cancer survivor.
Well, and I love that you brought that up, because that highlights another thing. It's so important to make sure that you have the right audience for your talk. We typically say, on the most part, you're not going to change your act. You're going to find an audience that it fits, because we don't want you to change who you are. However, what I like is that you have your key points you're making. And we all have, you know, this is where all of us have depth of knowledge and depth of experience in something. And you take all your experiences, and those are your stories, and they're yours. So guess what? If you mess them up, nobody knows. It's okay. It's totally fine. But you adjust your stories and say, for this audience, I still want to make this point, but what's the best story to use right here? Because you don't need to use the exact same stories every time. You should have just sticky notes full of stories. Every time you get an idea for a story, go into the notes section on your phone, because you've always got your phone with you. You're going to lose pieces of paper. Go into your notes section and just write it down. Nobody has to understand it but you. So it doesn't have to be written out. You can write 3 words as long as you're going to remember, oh yeah, that's the grocery store story, or that's the photocopying story, or, you know, whatever it is. Make a note of it, because that's where you tweak your stories. You say, where is my audience? What's the problem I'm solving that they have or the people around them have? And what's the story that best fits where they are and where I'm taking them? Absolutely.
Sarah, do you have some questions for Miss Kricket, please?
I'm just listening to you two, and I'm like, okay, they got it going good. I'm sorry. What are 3 things to understand about your message?
Oh, okay. So I love that, because that's where we started with entrepreneurs, was in this, how do I network? How do I speak? I said, I've been blessed to work with over 300 entrepreneurs, and I watch them. How do they introduce themselves? How do they do a 30-second or a 1 minute? And ladies, I hate to pick on us, but right here, 1 minute means 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
1 minute doesn't mean 90 seconds. It doesn't mean 2 minutes. And again, it's disrespectful. And let me tell you, women are funny. They won't say a word, but I guarantee you in their head, they're going, uh-huh. And they're looking at that watch, right? They're like, not staying. And then they're waiting for the host to kind of get the shepherd's hook and pull.
You're exactly right.
Right. And so it puts the host in an awkward situation. So, you know, no one's perfect. We're going to occasionally go a little over. If you're a little over, that's fine. But one of the reasons I think we get caught up and lost is we either memorize something that is, quite frankly, gets rote and boring, and then, or you get lost and you do this, you look up and you go to your right, because that's how our brain works. We read, you know, left to right. So we're going to do that. And we try to find it. But 9 times out of 10, it's just the message itself is off. And we get so excited, which is a good thing, about what we do, but we make it all about us. So there's a couple of things I see. Is the first thing is to remember, you've got to know how you stand out and how you're different. If you're one of 5 different people in the room, whether you're 5 different real estate agents or 5 different financial planners or 5 different business coaches, what is it that makes you different? And part of it's your values that are going to show up. Part of it's what got you in the business, but you've got to have something that sets you apart, because the middle never gets noticed. And always remember, you've got your high end, lots of attention. And then you've got, and the Instagram's a great way to see this, you've got your kind of haters. And I remember my first time I got a hater, I was like, woohoo, I got a hater. That means you're touching buttons. That means you're hitting on something that's important. That's what you want. The middle doesn't get seen. So you've got to find a way to differentiate yourself. And I don't mean the weird differentiate yourself. I mean better or different in a good way. The second piece is it's got to be about the problem you solve. You know, it's got to be about the problem you solve that is either in the room. So if Celeste is talking to me, she's got to pinpoint something that's about maybe the problem any of myself or other people in the room have, or my clients have. Because guess what? If she can give me information and I can learn something or refer her to my clients, I still look like a rock star to my clients. And that's the goal, right?
Yes.
Other thing that pops up that kind of falls under this knowing who you are piece is, this is not a monologue. It's an introduction. So I want you to be mindful. For anyone listening, practice this. I promise you'll be surprised. How many times do you say the word I? My name is fine. My company is, or I is fine. I'm Kricket Harrison. That's fine. I've seen people say the word I 16 or more times in a 1-minute introduction. That is all about them.
Right.
They don't get conversions. They don't get conversations. They don't get business cards. And we also have a tendency to get caught up in our labels and our titles. I typically do not give my company name or any of the fancy letters after my name, because nobody knows what they mean. And that's not why they hire you. They're looking for, does she get me? Does she know the problem I have? And does she understand me? And then do we relate, right? The other piece of that is for them to know that I get them, I got to use language they understand. I can't use fancy, what I call industry specific or tribal language. I don't care what you do, use language. And I don't mean talk down to people, but use language that an 8 to 13-year-old can repeat and refer. Because what happens is a couple of days later, when somebody says, oh, I'm looking for this, you're like, oh gosh, Sarah did something like that. I think she's a what? She's a, right? Own what you do. No fancy titles or names. I've seen women especially spend their 60 seconds telling me every letter after their name and every corporate position they held and all their responsibilities, and their time's up and we still don't know what they do.
What they do.
And the other part is be passionate. But be passionate about me and my problem that you're helping me fix, not passionate about yourself. And we've just got to learn to turn it the other direction. That's what networking is. It's about creating relationships, but we have to know what their problem is. And I'll tell you what that does. People say, well, how are they going to know? I need to tell them what I know. You don't want to know when you first meet me that I've got a program that's 6 weeks and it's this many calls and all that stuff. That's the next question. Oh, well, Lisa, that was fascinating. How do you do that? Oh, well, Lisa, I'm so glad you asked. It's really loud in here. Why don't we set up a time we can just talk, right? Something like that. We have to create the space for the engagement and not just verbally dump a monologue on people there's really nothing for them to respond to.
Well, when you spoke at eWomen and you talked about this, and it was one thing that sort of hit me between the eyes right there, Kricket, because, I've been to professional speaking workshops for 3 days and things of this nature. And I really felt that I had crafted my introduction, and it is within 60 seconds, but it doesn't really do a couple of things that you said when you spoke at eWomen last month, or when it was that you spoke. And I said, me and Kricket need to have a conversation because I need to change some of this. And I went back and wrote some things of what I wanted to do, but I haven't perfected it yet. But you really caught my attention when you said that, because so many times I hear people say the same thing over and over and over, and you don't know what they do. And it's like, that was just a waste of time.
Well, the other part about over and over again, even if you know what they do. So there's this interesting little trend here. So we don't want to go off the deep end with 10 different things that we do, because it confuses the listener.
Yes.
But we all do more than one thing. We all do. So I'll give you an example. When I'm in a room of people that are really struggling with their 60-second or 1 minute, that's what I'm leading with. I'm responding to the problem in the room that I know people have, because they're going to go, oh my gosh, yes, I see that. Or, oh, I understand that. Or what's funny is most of them go, oh yeah, she never does it. They never think about themselves, which I love, right? The other side of that though, is if I'm in a room and people are just, man, they got it down, they're nailing this. My intro is different. It's still about speaking and what I do, but I'm addressing the first problem may not be in the room as much. And my goal is to create interest in as many people that are hearing me as possible. So I go to another part of what I do. I'm still leading with, as a professional speaker, I work with, and then I'll typically say something. And so that looks like everything from your 30-second to your 1 minute to, for what most of you are curious about, is how do you get booked and how do you get on more stages? And they all go, right? Because if I say something about their 60-second to 1 minute and they're all nailing it, they're all going to tune me out. So you want to have pieces of what you do, but the overarching theme has to be the same. You can't show up one day and sell toothpaste and show up the next month and sell up the next month and do, exercise routines or something like that. There has to be a theme for people to trust you and want to refer you. We will not refer people we do not trust.
Absolutely. And the other thing is to go in there when you go into a networking thing. You hear these multiple streams of income and you do this, and there's 5 different things you do. Go in there with one thing that you do. Don't go in there and start that I do, like you said, and then go
in with a theme of what you do. Because if you go in month 1 with, I do one multiple stream, and you go in with month 2 with a different one, and month 3 with yet another one, we're done. We're like, God, does she not make it? Does she keep switching companies? But if you have an overall theme that says I'm in health and wellness, boom, right, you have a lot of opportunities.
Right. No, I'm talking that they go into one networking event, Kricket, and then they're wanting to say blah, 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 puke, 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 of 5 different things that they do. And it's, no.
And it's confusing, and people will, think about who you refer to people. Anyone listening, think about who you refer, and then think about what happens when, say, I refer somebody to Celeste, and it doesn't go well. Guess who it comes back on? It comes back on me.
On you.
So nobody refers people that they don't have a clear idea and understanding of what they do, their values and who they are, and the problem they solve, and that they can count on them and trust them. We talk about the know, like, and trust factor, but the trust factor is really huge here.
Well, and you just said something very powerful there, Kricket, is when you refer somebody, the other part of that is being appreciative. That's more than just saying thank you to that person that just referred you to somebody. It's taking it the extra step, whether it be an email, it be a card, or picking up the phone, but just don't say thank you for the referral, because I promise you won't get any more.
Yep.
Miss Sarah.
Okay, so I've got my story.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got lots of stories, but I got my one story that I want to talk about and get people involved and be passionate about. What are some of the things that I have to have in my story to make it for people like it or are interested in my story?
So that's a great question. So let's circle back a little bit to Celeste talking about her signature story. So I want to clarify what a signature story is. A signature story is the story you are known for telling, period, end of discussion. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be the most painful point in your life. I don't talk about those. That's not part of my content. I know a lot of speakers that don't know. You can, if it lends itself to the result you want. That I want you to think in a 20-minute networking talk, that time is like prime real estate and you don't waste it. So the people that start off with their story, I've seen people do 11 minutes out of 20 minutes on themselves. And then we just want to clarify that. The second part about the story is you have to really remember the story is not about you. You have to work to make your story about the audience, to make it about something that we identify with. And if you want to create the passion's actually around the way you overcame it and it helped that we can see ourselves doing. So the passion actually has to be created in us about what's possible for us, not what you did. It's a really tricky position. So there's the whole idea of, there's the hero, the story journey, but you also are the one that you never make fun of other people. It always comes back to you, right? That's kind of the self-deprecating humor lightly, but we don't make fun of other people. People say, oh, you have to end up the hero. No, they don't want the hero. They want to know that you're human. They want to know that you messed up like they did. Yes, you overcame it, but they want to be able to see themselves in your story. So the story you tell, and this, you can have multiple stories. There's a couple of different stories I'm known for telling. I will tell you, the more you tell stories, the more people will pick up on your stories and forget where they heard them from. So you just have to know that that happens, and that's okay. It means your message is getting out there. But you just have to make sure that it's purposeful, that it serves a purpose for the talk or the result you want or the change or action you want the audience to take, and that it's about us where we can see ourselves. So many people, it's not that they don't have fascinating, great stories. They just want to tell their story. And really, from a speaker standpoint, especially in terms of growing your business, which is what I really specialize in, is how are we using this to grow our following, to grow our business, to get more clients or to get more sales. It has to be a place where we say, oh my God, she's just like me. And look what she did. She can help me do it too. Oh my gosh, I can so relate. She went through that. I'm not going through that exact thing, but I've got this going on over here. And I know she can totally get the stress that I'm under. Right. And so I think we also have to remember that our story has to set us apart a little bit. Right. We don't want to tell the same. So we have a joke in the speaking world about, the poor starfish story. If you've all ever heard that, there are all these starfishes on shore and they picked up and they said, why are you throwing one back? They keep washing up. And somebody says, well, it mattered to this starfish. That's the very abbreviated version. Let me tell you, don't ever use that story, please. But you'll hear that. It's like, come up with your own stories, but make them relevant to a point you're making, the problem you solve, or the end result you want.
Very good information. So how can I get my story or my business noticed? And I think you've already talked about some of this, right?
So we've touched on a little bit. So you have to go to that first place I mentioned about don't be mediocre. You can't be in the middle. And I'll give you a really good example. Several years ago, up north of Atlanta, there was a public park area. And if I remember correctly, a woman was mugged or something while she had her baby stroller out. And it went on the little Facebook next door type app group. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is awful. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. And a speaker friend of mine spoke up and said, ladies, take your park back. Learn how to defend yourself. Do not give up on your space. This is your area. And if you don't own your area, somebody else will. She stood out. She had a different point of view or belief, right? She wasn't in the middle. She went against the norm, which was the and the panic and the poor me and the victimhood. And she called them out on it. And within about 30 minutes, the news people had called her and said, hey, can you meet us at the park? We want to interview you. Now, her business, she did self-defense for women, right? But she didn't mention that at the time. Right. But she had an opinion in the marketplace that was relevant. So I want that to be key. What is happening? Of course, okay. We're not going to go into what's happening in the world right now. What's happening locally? Things right now that are happening, like seriously, if you're in health and wellness, I mean, everything COVID you could be talking about, right? You could be talking about kids. If you're a parenting expert, you could be talking about all things kids and parenting. You know, business people can be talking about working from home. Tech people can be talking about all things tech. Like, there are so many things that are relevant. So one of the ways you get noticed is by showing that you are relevant and current in the marketplace, and that your business shows up in that relevant marketplace. And then the flip side there is you follow people on Twitter. Do not go bombard newscasters and things with all your stuff. Think about if you got 3,000 pitches a day from people going, look at me, right? But follow them. Find the people that are in your industry. If you do health and wellness, find the health and wellness person from the news, or find the radio people that fit your profile based on whether you listen to rock or Christian or what jazz or whatever the music is. Find the people that would be your audience. And then every now and then when a story comes up, you just say, hey, heard this just happened, you know, Sarah, I know you do this. Listen, if you need something, you're welcome to use this. Here you go. They will always cite it. They have to. And that's, you give first. And you just say, here's 3 quick tips. Media, if they can't read it in about 30 seconds, which is why Twitter is where all this happens, it's not going to happen. Their world is so crazy fast. But if you followed them, if you've liked or commented on their posts, and then you say, hey, if you need something, I've got this, it's ready to go, feel free. It may or may not happen, but then all of a sudden they start thinking, wait, who sent me that last time when I needed something? Let me find that, right? There's a way to connect, but you have to think you're not using people, you are sharing. And it's about helping them look good to their audience, right? When you do that for somebody, they want to return the favor. They want to be helpful.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win for both of them.
That's true, Sarah. You know, I have a question, Kricket, because this is our nonprofit show. So we have a lot of people, listeners, that own nonprofits. They're directors of nonprofits, they're founders or volunteers. So how does speaking weave its way into the nonprofit industry, and how important it is, especially if you're a founder, an owner, or a director of a nonprofit?
Oh, it is absolutely crucial, because we are in the nonprofit world. I serve on the board of a nonprofit here in Atlanta, and you know, people want to know your story. And so the written story and your website and all that is important, but the stories from the people you serve and the stories of your or your staff's experiences are so important. I worked with a nonprofit here for their big donor event, and I listened to them. And then I, through a friend, went to the CEO and said, hey, you know, if y'all do this again, I'd really love to work with you, because I know from experience that if we can enhance those stories, you're going to get more donations. The next year I worked with the staff, and all we did was really take the stories and make them their own. Yes. So they didn't sound like they were reading something just to get money. They really shared, hey, this is what our clients do. This is what we do. They shared real stories about how and why they got into it, because most everybody that gets really involved with a nonprofit has a place where that nonprofit or that need has touched their lives or someone close to them. So they've got a different take than most people. And when they tell that story, when they tell the story of, hey, I got involved in this because, you know, I really saw how this happened, or my nephew had this happen, or, you know, my family went through this, or whatever, that's what makes it real to other people. And people are donating to your story and to the feel-good opportunity. And you'll find some people who will just want to stroke a check and be out of there. But you'll find other people that want to know where that money went. And the more you can show them, I mean, there's nothing better than being able to have that story where you're actually talking to a client, or you're sharing your experiences, or a little bit behind the scenes. Maybe you're doing a holiday drive and you do a quick Facebook Live with your story of how the family's picking up the coats or something. Of course, you know, I don't want you to take care of all your legal stuff, but most people don't mind. They want to be part of a story. So when we're asking, especially for larger donors, we have to be able to pull them into our story. And it's just like for my entrepreneurs speaking, you have to make your company's story, your client's struggle story, our story.
That is so true, Cricket. Sarah and I have served on nonprofits for the last 7 years, and we've done amazing things together with the nonprofit organizations. But one thing that I noticed that separated most of the nonprofits, and we have served with some that didn't do this, is we would have people on the ground doing amazing things, and then the bigger picture corporate would take it and make it about them instead of what the people did on the ground. And you can't do that. And this is how you get people, like you said, how you get people involved in helping and serving. It's about them. It's not about you.
Yeah. And the stories have to be, so like when I'm working with a client and we are working on their story, we find little ways for them to say, reference something going on in the world right now. Right. So we talked about homelessness. I think it was last year, the year before. And what most people didn't realize is there's this thing called kind of suburban poverty. And it's the line between the cities. So like where Fulton County goes into Cobb County, you know, where the bus service and the train service stop. And nobody knows that there's poverty or there's homelessness there. And all of a sudden people are like, what are you talking about? I live there. So when you can bring it home to their backyard, or you can actually meet the refugee family that was supported and served, that changes everything. See, people get connected to the story and who does not love a good feel-good result? It's like all the sports movies that have all the angst and all the stuff they go through, and at the end they score the touchdown or they win. Everybody's like, people are in tears. It's the same thing with a nonprofit. They want the win, and they want to be a part of the win. So it's one thing to even have the conversation and share the stories to pull people in to get the donors. Then you have to keep your donors engaged. You have to keep making them a part of a story. Here's what your donation did for this family. This family has furniture and a bed for the first time. And you have a video of the family coming in and the kids just going nuts because they have a bed and they're not 5 of them sleeping in one twin bed.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that sort of got to one of our last questions of how can I use my story to make sales or raise funds?
So yeah, definitely to raise funds there. Like I said, and I think I can share this. The group that I worked with, we worked on their stories to make them theirs, to show how they were connected to the nonprofit. And from the first year to the second year, that same weekend, out of the gate, raised $100,000 more. And that did not include donations of stocks or property.
Wow. Amazing.
That's a big jump. And one of the comments was, oh my gosh, their stories are so much better. And you have to remember, I'm not expecting these people to be professional speakers, but they do have to put some, like we talked about work, right? We have to practice. You have to put something in it. It can't sound, they tend to work off scripts because we don't want them going off. They'll forget, and we need to stay focused and make sure that each person, follows and kind of fits what they're supposed to talk about.
Right.
And we work again. Is this language you would use? Is this the tone you would use? And they'll say no. And I'm like, how would you say this? And a lot of times I went back to someone just the other day and I said, I know you know this word. And because I'm reading this, I get this word, but the audience is not going to follow this word. It's going to be one of those kind of doorstops. The brain's going to go, wait, what was that? Mm-hmm. And the minute you're telling a story and we have to go into our brains and decipher what you meant, A, it's not our story anymore. We make it our story, but then it's not about you. And B, you've lost us listening to you.
Yeah.
Well, you lost the emotion to it.
And so we want to make sure that whoever the presenter is, and presenters are men and women of all ages, right? And all ethnicities and backgrounds and experiences, but the language they choose has to be theirs. It can't be this formal, you have to do this. And then we work with them to it's fine that they're reading it, but how do they read it more conversationally? When do they look up and go, gosh, that's just like our Braves, right? So we pull in local events. Like I said, we always pull in, we did an event and there was some big Notre Dame fans in the room. So we had one of the presenters who was referring to something that was somewhat relatable go. And then there's the Notre Dame, and she made a comment about it. That immediately went, oh my gosh, she gets us. Remember how I talked earlier about the person listening has to know that the speaker gets them. Whether you're an entrepreneur, making sales, or whether you're asking for donations, people have to see that you understand each other. if I don't show that I get the problem and I get you and I get you where you are, or if I want a donation, if I can't show you how it relates and how this supports our cause and what it does for your community and what it does for where you are in your world or your children's world or your grandchildren's world, then I'm not going to get you. Now, I may occasionally get the people who are just blessed to have so much money, they just need a tax write-off and they're just going to stroke a check and disappear. That doesn't create sustainable nonprofits all the time. It can down the road with a lot of work. But on the front end, it's really, you want people more involved so that they will continue that generous gift and not just look for who can we give to next year.
Absolutely. And this maybe doesn't have anything to do with speaking, Kricket, but because you're on a nonprofit that you work with a nonprofit and you help tremendously, the importance of building the relationships in the community. What is your advice to a founder of a nonprofit or a director running a chapter organization about the importance of building relationships and being relatable?
Well, I think for one, it's important for people to understand that nonprofits work with and support each other. People kind of get caught up almost in labels, or it's like it's their favorite team and they're only going to do that, and they have to understand that when it comes to homelessness in Atlanta, when it comes to refugees in Atlanta, all these organizations work together. Right. And then you have to start talking about what does it look like different in each community? And you will find people that go, oh, I had no idea. When we started talking about suburban poverty, people are like, I've never heard of that. I've had no idea. And all of a sudden that went into the next community. And now those communities are going to work together. Right. You just have to, and you have to keep putting the story out there. We are very lucky and blessed that a lot of the people we serve come back and say, how can I help? How can I give you a thank you? They love to do little videos. They love to do kind of video testimonials. I'm telling you, there's nothing. I mean, last year I posted some photos just of us doing we were at the warehouse where all the different Christmas gifts were delivered and we were giving them out as the families showed up. I mean, and we actually spent the first couple hours unloading truck after truck after truck, and we filled warehouses with boxes and boxes of gifts. So the emotion there is incredibly powerful to see the good that the people did. Faith and religion did not play in. People gave out of the generosity of their heart. I posted that on Facebook. Hey, this is what we're doing today. This is what I'm supporting. People were like floored. And then we were showing the kids, oh, and they get the bikes. They all want bikes. They all want bikes. They've never, all these things they've never had. People were so drawn to that. People in the Atlanta area were like, we are blessed to have all this. And to see those faces, that's different. That creates to me more loyalty and engagement and community because it generates a feeling. It's not just about a tax write-off. This is a cause we believe in, we support, that betters humanity, it betters our city, it betters the community around us, all of that. And when you can start to use the social media in a good way, the way it was intended, I had people saying, how do we volunteer? How do we sign up? How do I join your organization? Just off of a few photos, not even a video. And video is so much more powerful.
Absolutely. Well, tonight, Kricket, you have given us a wealth of information, lots of gold nuggets here today, and we have a lot of takeaways. Sarah, what's one of the biggest takeaways you have today?
I liked how she was talking about for her nonprofits, doing the videos and the pictures and getting people interested right then and there, because I think that's the number one thing. People need to see what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're helping. Because if they get that, they understand that, they're more apt to help.
Yep.
Absolutely. And, my biggest takeaway, not only the nonprofit, which this is our nonprofit show here, but the other thing is our story and understanding our story and coming from a heartfelt, centered place where we're sharing our stories, and we're sharing our stories where it's about the audience connecting to that. It's not about us. It's about what they can connect to, because that's the reason that we are speaking, is to connect to the audience, not our ego about I.
Yeah. It's funny. I tell clients sometimes that when you speak and a bunch of women come up at the end and go, oh my gosh, you were great. That's like the kiss of death. You need to know. That's the difference. If they come up, say, I have someone to refer you to. I loved what you said about X, Y, and Z, and they're specific, but it's like, oh, that was great. That's always a telltale sign. Okay, we either didn't connect, we didn't have the right stories, the offer didn't fit, we needed to go, there's something we need to revisit. It's not necessarily about being wrong, it's about the strategy, and was it the right strategy for the people in the room? You know, there's several areas that it can go to, but yeah, it's like, so that's how you know with your story.
Absolutely. And Kricket, what I'd like for you to do, please, is tell us again the name of your company and how they can reach out to you in your Facebook group, because I know that a lot of people in our audience would love to connect with you.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. So my business is called Smart Success Inc. That's the website. It's really just Smart Success, smartsuccessinc.com. And on Facebook, I'm Kricket Cody Harrison. It's Kricket with a K. And my Facebook group, if you search groups or do the facebook.com/groups/ all that lovely stuff, Smart Success Group. That's a great way. I'm on LinkedIn as Kricket Harrison. I'm on Instagram as Kricket Harrison Speaker. And so there's all sorts of ways. We're very findable these days on social media. So I would love to connect, even if it's just to ask questions. You know, the Facebook group is a great place just to ask questions. Hey, what do you think about this? What about this offer? And then I go in there, try to be more regular than I have been. I've been blessed to be busy, done about 42 presentations in the past couple of months. So,
wow,
you know, I haven't been in my Facebook group quite as much, but I'm practicing what I preach. And but that's a great place to ask. Those are all people interested in increasing performance, whether it be in the workspace performance or whether it be in their speaking and presentation performance. And so it's the best way to get access and ask questions.
Absolutely. And I'm in that Facebook group, and I'm very blessed to be in there because Kricket does give a lot of valuable content and education in that group. It's a great group of women, and I think it's primarily women in there, as women and men.
We have a few brave men.
Yeah, few brave men, but it's a great place. You know, we are bombarded with a lot of groups, and you have a lot of speakers that, you know, want to get you into a group. And one thing that resonated with me with Kricket is I remember her sharing that she created this group, and it's a free group, and that's your offer. I think a lot of times when you're speaking of those is to come join the group. And she's building the relationships with people and get in there. And if it's a good fit, then, you know, continue on and have a conversation with Kricket on how she can help you, because she is a wealth of knowledge. She's very well versed and trained in the speaking industry, and our heart loves your heart, Kricket. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for asking me.
I'll be joining your group.
Yay, I'd love to have you. I will say, answer the questions. That's how I protect my members, so that I know they're not bots and people in there just to pitch and do sales. It's, you know, we got to take care of our own, and I'm very protective of my members.
Yes, yes. Well, we appreciate that. And we look forward to having you back next year, hopefully, for one of our for-profit shows, because I know we have a lot of people in the for-profit industry that would love to hear what's the word I'm looking for? I lost my train of thought. Would love to have some education and knowledge on for speaking, especially the first of the year, because we've been through this COVID thing in the last 6, 7, 8 months, and then we're getting ready to go into a new year. And are we going to be virtual? Are we going to be in person? So I know that you're going to have a wealth of knowledge the first of the year with, you know, that you could share with people of what's the best thing to be doing in 2021.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kricket. We appreciate you. And we're going to move on to our second guest tonight.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We love you. Thank you.